All right. Fade to black breaking news for this Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. This is all of the news that you need. I'm Jimmy Church. All right. Great week coming up on Fade to Black. Last night, an amazing conversation with Dr. Scott Taylor talking about the shared death experience. Tonight, it's Patricia Corey. She is back. We're going to be talking about tech, AI, and parallel universes. Tomorrow night, Patricia Eltinge is with us. We're going to be talking about dreams. And then Thursday night, the return of Deep Prasad, quantum computing and his search for UFOs. I do have three major events coming up. Contact in the Desert coming up in a couple of weeks, May 29th through June 2nd, right here in Palm Springs, California. Then I head to Peru with Brian Forster for the Inca Celebration of the Sun. That's in June. It's sold out. Second tour coming up in November. Then I come back for the PSI Games, the Psychic Olympics, August 1st through the 3rd, 2025 in Charlottesville, Virginia. All right, let's get things started. On this day in history, 1973, Bobby Riggs and Margaret Court face off on the tennis court in the first battle of the sexes. He won, but got his butt kicked by Billie Jean King a few months later. That is on your day in history. On this day, fate or fact, 90% of the world's population lives above the equator. Who lives below it? Australians, which explains a lot, by the way. Let's get to the breaking news. HB 2755 is a new Arizona law that allows law enforcement to shoot down drug-carrying drones at the border. Not just drug carrying, by the way. It shields public entities and public employees from damage liability when they intercept, capture, disable, shoot, destroy, or otherwise render inoperative a drone within 15 miles of the southern border. That's right. I would classify that as any drone. NASA needs your help identifying the shapes of thousands of galaxies in images taken by our James Webb Space Telescope with the Galaxy Zoo project. These classifications will help scientists answer questions about how the shapes of galaxies have changed over time, what caused these changes, and why. Thanks to the light collecting power of the Webb, there are now over 500,000 images of galaxies on a website of the Galaxy Zoo Citizen Science Project. More images than scientists can classify by themselves. Now, just go to zooniverse.org, not Zoo Universe, Zooniverse, ZOONIVERSE.org. All right, check it out. Nuclear power plant developer Elemental Power said last Wednesday it has signed an agreement with Google to develop 3 sites for advanced nuclear reactors. That's right. Google is getting in the nuclear reactor business. Google will commit development capital to the 3 projects, although the exact terms of the deal remain private. Of course they do. Each site will generate at least 600 megawatts of power capacity, and Google will have the option to buy the power first once the sites are up and running. What could go wrong? The universe is decaying much faster than thought. This is shown by calculations of 3 Dutch scientists on the so-called Hawking radiation. They calculate that the last stellar remnants take about 10 to the 78 power years to perish. That's 10 with 78 zeros. That is much shorter than the previously postulated 10 to 1100 zeros years. The researchers have published their findings in the Journal of Cosmology and Astroparticle Physics. That's right, 10 to the 78. It's a lot of zeros. Last week on May 6th, 3 Chinese tourists were arrested in Kagoshima Prefecture in Japan after authorities found between 2,000 and 3,000 protected land hermit crabs packed into their suitcases. What? The crabs, weighing a total of about 350 pounds, are protected as national natural monuments. Think about that. Yeah. Researchers have found pages of a rare medieval manuscript masquerading as a cover and stitched into the binding of another book, according to experts at Cambridge University Library in England. The fragment contains stories about Merlin and King Arthur. Very cool. Check this out. The 2 pages are from a 13th century copy of the Suite Vulgate du Merlin. The manuscript, handwritten by a medieval scribe in Old French, served as the sequel to the legend of King Arthur. There are just over 3 dozen surviving copies of the sequel today. Yeah. And finally, I'll leave you with this. Google has announced it will roll out its Gemini artificial intelligence chatbot to children under the age of 13. While the launch starts within the next week in the United States and Canada, it will launch in Australia later this year. The chatbot will only be available to people via Google's Family Link accounts. Google's Family Link accounts allow parents to control access to content and apps such as YouTube. All right, cool. Not so fast. All right, let's get crazy. Are you ready? Chatbot access will be on by default. So parents need to actively turn the feature off to restrict access. Children will be able to prompt Gemini for text responses or to create images, which are, of course, generated by the system. Google says the system will include built-in safeguards designed to prevent the generation of inappropriate or unsafe content. All right, it's over. Officially. Tap out. We're done. I can hear it now. Good morning, Timmy. How are you today? Seriously. There you go. There's all the Fade to Black breaking news that you need for this Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. Breaking news is produced by Renee Neumann. I am Jimmy Church. I want to remind everybody that tonight on the show, Patricia Corey is back with us. We're going to be talking about tech, AI, and parallel universes. All of that and much more tonight on Fade to Black. But for now, all I've got is Go Back Lee Tappy.